Welcome to I Love My HBCU ? The podcast where we express our undeniable love for HBCUs, but where we are also not afraid to address a few tough questions. So, sit back, learn a little, love a lot, and rep your HBCU. Hello, beautiful humans. It is yours truly, Tosin Richard, your host for I Love My HBCU ? The podcast. I have royalty in the building with me today, Emir Horton from Delaware, HBCU made from Delaware State University. How are you doing today, sir?
I am good. Thank you so much. That was a great introduction. I'm honored to be here.
So he's saying it's a great introduction, but we both agreed prior to the recording starting that his name does come from royalty. And we have your grandmother to thank for naming you that, right?
Yes, yes. Eartha, my grandmother, she was in the hospital the day I was born. And it was funny because I almost was a junior. My dad's name was Eric. And Eric, back in his day, he wasn't there in the hospital when I was born. And my grandmother said, you know what, since he's not here, he don't deserve to have his son named after him. And
Wow.
she came up with Emir. And I'm super
Wow.
grateful for that too because,
Wow.
I like my name. It's very unique. I don't really hear too many Emirs in the world either. And of course, the meaning behind it, like, I'm good with it.
Yes, yes. So I actually don't hear too many emirs either as a name. I hear it honestly as a title. Like all the things I know with regards to cultural namings, it typically is a title. So my name is Oluwatosin Adigbola. That's my full name. It's a mouthful, I know, but I love my name. And I know that in my culture, I'm also Yoruba by culture. They say we live up to our names. And so they're so specific in my culture when they give you a name. How have you lived up to the name, the royal name that you have? How have you lived up to your name?
It's interesting because I would say about maybe 4 years ago, so in the middle of the pandemic, I used to pursue to be like a social media influencer type of thing, to do brand partnerships and things like that. So I would create like different posts on Instagram that were just words by itself. And oftentimes those posts would be of value, or it would just be something that's on my mind that I'm thinking about, and I would turn that into words and post it on Instagram. And so one day, the name Emir just randomly came to me. My name I just randomly started thinking about it, and I googled the definition of it, and I saw it was actually quite like three different definitions of it, but it all meant the same thing, which was a commander over in like the Arab countries and things like that. And I'm like, it was a very pivotal time for me as well, because I was going through like this shift in my identity. I was launching a business. I didn't know where I was personally, because we were in a pandemic, so everything was just uncertain. So I was doing a lot of reflection around that time, and I think it was in that moment where I did the self discovery. I was in therapy. I was doing I had a lot of downtime, and I just started to shift my mind as who I was as a man and who I was becoming, and this better version of myself. And I said, yeah, I am a king. I live up to what my name is, and it's time to do that. So that was when I realized it. Like, yeah, I'm royalty.
I appreciate the depth that you gave behind and the layers that you gave behind how you not only want to live up to your name, but will continue to live up to your name. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
You slid something in there. I don't know if it was intentional. Your grandmother's name happens to, I'm realizing, also be the name behind your watch brand.
Yeah.
Tie those two things together for us, and by all means tell us about Eartha Watches.
Yeah, Eartha, my grandmother, she's like the matriarch in our family. She's the one who holds us together. She's a praying grandmother, so she goes to war in the spirit for you. and she shows up for everyone who she loves, no matter who she come in contact with. And I credit her a lot of what she have done and who she has served to be in my life, that has allowed me to be who I am today. Even like I said, going in earlier, she was there in the hospital, and she has always been there, no matter what. She has always been there, and so when I decided that I wanted to launch a watch company, uh, I was thinking about what I wanted to name my brand after. I knew I wanted something to represent legacy and showing up for people, being of service, supporting others, the underserved and the under-resourced. So what can I name this company? And the first name that came to my head was Eartha. And I said, I think it would be cool. Someone say, "Oh, what kind of watch is that?" They say, "Oh, this is an Eartha watch." So it just it rung a bell to me in that aspect too. And so, yeah, Eartha, that was the first name that came to my head, and it is, a way to pay homage to my grandmother. She is alive and well. She has her Eartha watch on her wrist, and all those things too. So, and it's funny too because when I asked her, I said, "Can I name my brand after you?" She's like, "Yeah." I said, "Do you want to be the face of the company with me?" She's like, "No, like that's your thing. You go ahead and do it by yourself, and I'll be here to support you along the way." But that's who she is. Like, if it's your light, she wants you to shine it as bright as you can, and she's going to be there to help you beam it.
I love that. I love that. Amir, do you have one of the watches? You have to have it on, right?
Yeah, I'll always do.
I love it. Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
it looks black on
Nice.
camera, but it's like a dark navy blue.
So okay. We have Rolex, we have Citizen, we have I don't know all the names. We have Michelle. Um Not that many people, especially in the day and age of your I call them your I don't want to call it Apple Watch, that's making it synonymous with all those types of e-watches. Why watches? Why is that the thing that you decided this is what I'm passionate about, this is what I want to have a product brand behind? What is it about you and watches?
Yeah, so when I first launched my business, I dived into entrepreneurship kind of on an accident. It
Okay.
really was as a means to take back my economic freedom. Because before I launched a watch company, I most people knew me from my background working in television. I was living in LA, lived there for about 4.5 years, and moved directly after college. Like 4 months after I graduated from Delaware State, I went straight to LA. And I got a job. I was working for some of the biggest media companies in the world, but very early on in your career, you got to pay your dues and prove your worth to get paid what you're worth. And doing that in LA, it was very, very hard. So I was homeless for a couple of months. And when I gathered stability in my housing, I started to think about, I said, I can't depend on Hollywood right now to be my sole primary source of income. I need to diversify my revenue
Mm.
streams, and I need to be a better maximizer of my time. And so I started thinking about all of my passions, and that's when watches came to mind. And I have always had a passion for watches since a teenager. One, because my mom gave me my first watch, and she said two things a man should always have is a wallet and a watch. So when she told me that, you would never catch me without a watch on. And as I was wearing watches and were so into them, I noticed how the watches that I will wear, I will always get compliments on them everywhere I go. They would say, "I like that watch you got on." So when I decided for me to launch a watch company, I knew the power that timepieces have. Although we live in this digital era, I know the power that a nice watch can have, and it really serves as a status symbol, and it boosts your confidence when you walk in a room. And so that's what our products represent, and that's why I dived into watches because I know I can walk down the street and they can start a conversation. It happens all the time for me, and who knows where that conversation can lead to? It can lead to a relationship, an opportunity, anything. So yeah, that's how we got here, and that's what made me build this brand to what it is now.
So I was smiling hard when you were talking, right? I have an Apple Watch, but almost always what you're going to see on my wrist is an actual watch.
Yeah.
And I was smiling when you were talking because I feel the same way about watches as you do. Even though I'm not launching any watch brand anytime soon, let me be very, very clear. But watches are timepieces and they're conversation starters, depending on what the watch is. So as you were talking, I felt so warm on the inside because I was like, oh my gosh, somebody else that feels this way about watches. I absolutely love it. I need to, and I'm going to. This is knock knock on you, Tosin. You should have done this, but I will be going to your website to see the plethora of watches that are available. And I must ask this. I must ask this before I'm about to throw the rapid fire segment at you, the 67 seconds rapid fire segment. But before I do, because you and I both share the love of watches and how much they can be these statement pieces as well as conversation starters. Is there a story behind any one of your watches that you've come out with that just resonates with you? All of them, I'm sure, are your babies, but is there a style behind one that you're like, this is the one that I share a lot because of X? I want to hear it.
It's very interesting because every product that we have, I designed myself. And there's a lot of intentionality behind the design. And that design often reflects how I'm feeling in that moment. And
Wow.
so it's a little challenging to answer that question because every single piece is connected to me in some kind of way. But I will say our recent collection that we just launched last month is the Vision Collection. And I called it the Vision Collection, one, because I went through so much trial and error to get this collection out. And it was the vision that I had for this company that was allowing me to get through every moment in those hardships that I had to experience just to push through. And so this collection, there's a part of the watch that actually glows up in the dark. And part of my thought process behind that was even in our darkest moments of times, we have to always see our vision. And so that I would say, yeah, like that this collection is very, very touching to me because as entrepreneurs, oftentimes people don't know the things that you go through in the dark. Like when you're by yourself and you're isolated and it's just you trying to figure out how we're going to figure this thing out and make this thing work. And so it hits home to see people. We were sold out for some time, and people had been sending emails and messages. When are you restocking? What's going on? Where are you at? And then when we launched this collection, I really love the response that people are getting towards it,
That's
but also
beautiful.
meeting.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So I'm going to guess, but I can assume, but I want you to tell the audience, those listening, where exactly can we find your watches for those who must get their hands on one after hearing you today?
Thank you. It's our website is earthawatches.com. So it's
Beautiful.
EARTHA watches.com.
Lovely. So that's the Earth, guys. The Earth with an A at the end, watches.com. And we're going to be getting our hands on one just to support you because, listen, you've got a vision and we must support your vision. All
Thank
right,
you.
Emir, I said I was throwing the 67 rapid fire segment at you. Are you ready?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. I keep on asking people, are they ready? Like they have a choice. Like we're going to get into it regardless, right? Okay. All right, Amir, you are a proud alum of Delaware State University. Describe your HBCU experience in one word.
Oh, one word. Crazy.
Crazy. I love it. I got insane not too long ago, so I like crazy. Um, if your time in college was a song, what would it be?
Hmm. I would say Champion by Kanye West.
Championed by Kanye West. I don't know it, but I'm going to listen to it. Just, hey, listen, I love champions.
It's a very empowering song. It's empowering.
I love it. I love it. Empowering. Amir, what would you have wanted to tell your college roommate but didn't?
Oh wow. That it's not true that I didn't like him.
Powerful.
Yeah,
That is powerful.
yeah.
Powerful. Powerful. Shout out your favorite professor and what did they teach?
Ava Perrine. Ava Perrine was my advisor and my college professor. So she taught Intro to Mass Comm. She taught our college seminar class. So she was one of my first. I call her my college grandmother, actually.
Nice. Nice. I was just told that my time is up. I always take the liberty to ask one or two more questions. So I'm going to. If you remember, what was your best meal in college?
My best meal in college,
Absolutely. On college, it has to be from like your
um,
cafeteria.
the fried chicken.
Fried chicken.
Yeah,
Okay. We get that a lot. So, hey, we're on brand. We're on brand. We're on brand. We're on brand. Okay. On a scale of 1 through 10, what kind of student were you?
with 10 being like close to straight
10 being the best. 10 being the best. 1 being, come on, what are you doing?
A. I would say I would say 8.
A
I would
strong
say,
8. That's
yeah,
good. That's good. Okay.
yeah,
Okay. I'll take that. Just listening to you already, Amir, you are clearly a young gentleman that isn't afraid to go out there and plant his feet wherever he needs to be grounded. How did you end up at Delaware State University? Give us your college selection journey. Why Delaware State University and how Delaware State University?
yeah. So I didn't start to think about college really until like my 11th grade in high school when I saw people who were sitting in college applications and they were getting acceptance letters and things like that. But by the time, for me, my grades was horrible in high school. So me going to college like straight out of high school, it wasn't going to happen. So I had to go to community college as a result
Okay.
of that, and then I transferred to Delaware State. But Delaware State came on my radar. I knew I wanted to go to an HBCU.
Okay.
I didn't know about Delaware State until actually my sister was interested in going there. So I joined her on a college tour to Delaware State, and I fell in love with the campus. I was born and raised in Philly, so we was like a 40-minute drive to Delaware. My mom ended up moving my sisters and I to Delaware right after college, and I knew that I didn't want to pay out-of-state tuition. So going to Delaware State was a no-brainer. Like I'm like this is where I want to go. It's close to home, and I don't have to pay out of state, and it's an HBCU. I'm seeing people that look like me, and I love it here. And then they taught me very well, treated me very well on the orientation, fed me good. So we had a Chick-fil-A on campus. I'm like, oh, this is where I'm going. And so,
So,
yeah.
no, sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say I almost ended up not going to Delaware State because they were like lollygagging on my acceptance letter, and I'm like, man, like I'm eager to go to college. Like, what are we doing here? They started bringing up suspensions from ninth grade. Like, they were just making up all these reasons as to why my application was getting delayed. So I actually almost ended up going to Westchester because I got accepted
Okay.
to Westchester. And I
Yeah.
said, if Dell State don't reply to this day, by this day, this is where I'm going. And they ended up getting back to me before I made it up in my mind the deadline that they had. So yeah,
I'm hearing a couple of things that are becoming a little bit more consistent. One of them is, and you ended up still going to Delaware State University, but when I've spoken to some of our guests about how they made their college selection, and some of them share that one of the reasons why they did not go to some of the HBCUs that were on their list is because of the reason you just gave, i.e., the lollygagging, and let's just call it the lack of efficient processes that could have landed them some of the best students that are out there. So I'm hearing that as a consistent statement, which I'm going to keep on bringing it up. And the reason why I'm going to keep on bringing it up is because we need to get our processes a little bit more efficient. Regardless of how well we think we're doing, there are some massive loopholes. So that's one thing I hear consistently. Something you've said, and I hear this consistently as well, finance ends up being a really big reason with regards to which university our students pick to go to. And it's hard to think about the finance and also not think about the massive college debt that a student tries to avoid as they're picking or making their their college selection choice. Um, I keep repeating these things intentionally. The powers that be, those who've got the influence,
Yeah.
those who've got the pockets, the larger pockets than the rest of us, those three groups. It'll be amazing to see more things happen in that space so that college students, as they're graduating, don't, and I call it a noose around their neck, a financial noose around their neck as they're graduating, because it does put a stranglehold on you regarding some decisions you can make later on in life.
Yeah.
And your story falls in alignment with that as well, because you could have gone somewhere else, but hey, in-state tuition matters. Affordability matters.
Yeah.
But then the last thing you said, you don't know him, but there's a gentleman that was on our show, Amari Jangha from he attended Morgan State University. You said that when you got on the campus, the way it felt.
Yeah.
And he said the exact same thing. He said, I got onto that campus and I just knew this is where I belong based on that feeling. So, Emir, there is a feeling you have that brings you in. What's the feeling that kept you there? Because you could have transferred. What's the feeling that kept you there at Delaware State University?
I think it was the feeling of potential. I think when I went to Del State, it was it gave me that feeling of one belonging, but potential that I really could be something as a black man coming from where I come from. In Philadelphia, where I would hear gunshots in the alleyway from my room. So going from that to Delaware State, where I'm seeing young men in suits and ties and looking like really sharp. I wasn't used to seeing that. Not boys my age at that time because I was in Philly. And so when I got to school and I'm seeing the way people carried themselves, I was majoring in mass communication. So we had the radio station, we had the TV station. Like being on set is something that I loved, and I still do. I love being on set and being around cameras and lights and being on in front of the camera as well as behind the camera. So it really just showed me the potential of what I could become and the potential that they can help to facilitate what I was desiring to have as a profession, working in television. So it was a mixture of that. We didn't have too many parties and stuff going on, which was a disappointment. I was a low key disappointed about that because I'm like, I want to get the full HBCU experience, with the fraternities and sororities. We didn't see them too much. So that was the downside. I feel like the socializing piece at Delaware State, at least for me, it was lacking in that area. But as far as the exposure, it has granted me, that's more rewarding than anything else.
You mentioned a lot, and I don't know why this is what popped into my head, but it is what popped into my head. We're in 2024 now. 2023, we saw the huge Supreme Court, I'm going to call it intervention, with regards to striking down affirmative action for some universities. And many people that I've spoken to about that have said they're two sides of the coin. They've said it's unfair, but a good number of them have also said, well, you belong at an HBCU. So I was about to say a curse word, which I don't often do. So I'm not going to. I'm glad I caught myself in time.
Listen, it happens.
But I've heard some people say, well, forget those other entities that one has to prove themselves to have to be, selected to belong there. What are your thoughts about those who say that every student, every black student, should put an HBCU, a a where you're going to belong just by nature of your race, should put an HBCU in the top of their list as they're considering colleges? What are your thoughts on that? And bear in mind the affirmative action conversation.
Yes. Uh, it gets under it does get under my skin a lot because just when I think about the climate that we're in, to be honest, it's like our HBCUs wouldn't exist had we had equal opportunity. And so um, I feel like for real, going to an HBCU it's a personal choice. I do feel like it could be relative depending on what you're looking for out of an experience. I think a majority of people's experience and their selection process could be different. Some people grew up in the inner city, so they enjoy being around people who look like them. But then I also see the other side of the coin where going to a PWI may not grant you the same resources as it going to an HBCU may grant you. So it's 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 interesting,
Okay.
where we are. But I feel like if you are black and you're looking for a black experience that resonates with you and your culture, put in an HBCU that reflects where you're trying to go for a career, it should be high on your list. Because at the end of the day, they're trying to erase all of our history. HBCUs, we see DNI under attack. We see these funds for black businesses getting lawsuits. They're trying to erase our history from the textbooks, everything black, they're trying to get rid of. So I really implore for people to go to HBCUs, but at the same time, make sure that it's an HBCU that resonates with you and where you're trying to go because some HBCUs programs are different from others. Like I can say that wholeheartedly because as a mass comm major, I know for sure we weren't getting the same opportunities as Howard University had. And I would say I love my HBCU, but I said if I could have afforded to go to Howard, I would have went. But it was a little further and it cost more. But at the same time, the resources were readily available as opposed to when I was going to Delaware State. So I think you have to weigh the options in your selection. But for sure, if you're a black, at least two of them. We have so many amazing HBCUs that you can choose from. A couple of them need to be at the top of your list, regardless.
I appreciate this. There's so much in what you just said. I appreciate a lot of what you said. One of the things that kind of like stood out to me is not only weighing your options, but weighing your options against what it is you're looking for and what you need.
Yeah.
I sincerely appreciated the further drilling down of the example that you gave as a mass communication major at Delaware State University, as opposed to perhaps a mass communication major at Howard University. And this isn't a comparison in a negative way.
At all.
This is a comparison with regards to making sure that you, the person who is seeking out the experience and the profession, if you know this is what you want to do later on, making sure you're picking the place that's got some of the best resources for you.
Yeah.
I just appreciate the way you did the comparison. I think it's an extremely fair comparison. I think it also speaks to resource and lack thereof in different spaces, but also an acknowledgement that every single university isn't always going to have every single thing that you need. It's not possible for any entity to have that.
Yeah.
Bearing that in mind, what's your favorite thing, or what was your favorite thing about Delaware State University?
I would say meeting my friends. Yeah. So Yeah, meeting my friends, some of my friends, like my college roommate. Well, I had two roommates. So the roommate that I had from my sophomore year up until graduation, like him and I are still close. And a lot of my friends who I've met through like the mass communications department, it was a good pocket of us who were like the go getters. Like everything we wanted in the radio station or the TV station, we made it happen. And to this day, we
Mm.
still lean on each other and call each other and check in on each other, from as much as we can. Of course, we're adults now. We got so many busy things going on, but it was really that establishing a community because this first time away from home, you're by yourself and having friends who were like minded. It really meant a lot, and it means a lot. And as you grow, they're growing right along with you, even post graduation. So I would say that, yeah.
So I'm smiling, Amir, because I get a lot of responses to that question whenever I ask it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to throw something at you based on what you just said. I've said before, and some people don't like it when I say this, but I actually do mean it. I've said before that going to college is not about your degree. I've said before that going to college is not about your degree, and going to college is an education in finding yourself. And I
Mm,
just asked you, what's your favorite thing, or what was your favorite thing about Delaware State University? And your response was the friendships that you made. So I want you to tell me what your thoughts are about my statement. When I make the statement at open house sometimes, and parents are looking at me like, what the holy F is she talking about? But I mean it.
yeah,
I don't think that going to college is about the degree that you get. I do think it's about an education in yourself.
yeah.
So, Amir, dissect that for me.
I might get in trouble right along with you a little bit.
Let's do it. Let's get in good trouble together.
I said that I credit my friends because my friends were there when the professors weren't. When my professors understand me
Ooh.
and what I was after that was felt different from everybody else, my friends were there helping me brainstorm. My friends were there traveling with me to New York um, because I wanted to interview a celebrity for a college show that I had. It was my friends who were, pouring into me day in and day out, studying with me at night. Even sometimes we were praying and had a whole like church type thing in our living rooms. It was those things. So my friends really helped more to facilitate where I was going as a profession in television. They were helping me find the internships, and it's not to credit my professors because they did what they could, what they knew how to do. But at the same time as well, since I graduated, not one employer that I've had asked to see my degree. I could be lying this entire time that I graduated from Delaware State with a Bachelor's of Arts because no one has asked me. And so I feel like for me, I've grown more personally than I have professionally during my time in college, for sure. I had the internships, but that professional growth that I've obtained, it wasn't from the classroom majority of it. It was from the outside work. And it took for me to have a certain mindset to obtain those internships that Delaware State granted me, like that sense of belonging, the sense of how you carry yourself as a black man when you go into these interviews. That personal development is what really helped the trajectory of my career post graduation. And so I agree with you. I think it is about the education piece more than it is about the piece of paper. And I think for us, even as people of color, we oftentimes carry ourselves in a different way when we show up to certain rooms and when we speaking to other people who may not look like us, who already have two red flags against us just because of the color of our skin. But going to college, it really teaches you not just humbles you, but it provides you an opportunity to say, I belong here in this room. You belong here in this room, and I'm going to help you to see that you belong in that room through molding you a little bit. So, yeah.
Amir, Amir, the next time anybody has an issue with me with that statement, I am going to play them the last few minutes of this recording and the answer that you just gave, because I don't think I don't think I could ever say it any better than the way you just said it. Based on the real life experience that you've had, when you said that all the jobs that you've had so far so good post college, you literally, the way you presented it, I could be lying this whole time
Yeah,
about the college degree that I have because nobody's asked for it.
yeah,
Not to say that no employer will ever ask, but there is truth behind what you just said. And the reality that what you are able to do might matter a whole lot more than what that college degree actually says. So next time anybody is like, Tosin, I'm just going to say, well, according to Emir Horton, he has lived exactly what it is that I said. So I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Amir, finish this sentence for me. Because of my experience at my HBCU, I will not.
oh, mm, I will not give up. I will not give up. Um, I spent thousands of dollars on that degree and took debt for sure. So on that one side, and you're in it now. You done did all that, so why waste your time collecting all that debt? But again, college it showed me it played a really critical piece in showing me who I am and who I can become. You know, in Delaware State is a small campus. It's in a small town. People drive right past Delaware. They don't think of Delaware State a lot of times, and it's in the first state of the country. Um, but while I was there, I still was able to obtain like really big opportunities outside. Where I traveled to LA for internships, was in New York for certain things. But it gave me that grit and that hustle. And if it wasn't for that campus, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have the work ethic that I have. I wouldn't be so determined to not give up because I knew what I had to go through while I was there. I had to fight so hard because of the limited access to opportunities because we were such a small school. So I would say, yeah, I won't give up because of that. I've been through too much to give up.
Listening to your story alone, you've had a lot of life. You've lived a lot of life,
Yeah,
and you're still a very young gentleman.
yeah,
Yet you've lived a lot of life. I don't want to ask what's next, because hey, life is going to keep lifing, for lack of a better word.
for sure.
But I am curious, what's on your horizon for you? We listened to a gentleman who still has a lot of passion for the mass communication world and television and all of the things that that entails. Yet this is the same gentleman that now has Eartha Watches, this very different brand that's out there that you're pursuing. What's on the horizon? What's bless our audience with things in Emir Horton's mind that he's still innovating.
Yeah, yeah, it was that right there, innovating for sure. I am embracing more of becoming an entrepreneur. So, of course, furthering my watch company, but I really am figuring out a way of how I can merge both of my worlds together, which is television and the luxury goods sector with watches. So I just recently moved to Atlanta because I feel like Atlanta is like the mecca of Black excellence and Black entrepreneurship. So I've been here, but aside from the things that will bring me, of course, monetary gains, I'm really focusing on like social impact and being of service. So there are a few things that I'm implementing inside of like my personal brand as Emir Horton that's probably different, from my company and what I do in television. So that is what's next for me is really just using my voice, using my platforms, and using the access that I do have to really make a difference in people's lives. I feel like the climate that we're living in this world right now is crazy, as if COVID didn't do enough. So really just doing what I can to provide a platform for hope and inspiration, and for people to live in their purpose and do the things that brings them joy, no matter what that looks like.
Emir, leave our audience with a parting word or short phrase on why you love HBCUs.
Mm. I love HBCUs because of the pride and the exposure. There's nothing like there's nothing like an HBCU experience. And I think there is a level of consistency no matter what HBCU you go to. You're going to find that pride, and you're going to get that exposure when you go to an HBCU. And for that, I am grateful. Coming from the inner city, it's different. It changed my life.
Pride exposure. Emir Horton, the founder and innovator of Eartha Watches. I know that I have enjoyed this conversation with you. HBCU made of Delaware State University. I hope everybody watching, everybody listening have also enjoyed this. How could you not, with Emir being my guest? You better like this episode. I hope I have also earned the pleasure of you subscribing to I Love My HBCU the podcast. Yours in HBCU love. See you next episode. Emir Horton, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
You've been listening to I Love My HBCU? Let's keep the conversation going as we share our stories and encourage more practical support of HBCUs, whilst of course holding each other accountable. Don't forget to follow and subscribe for the latest episodes. Until next time, love and lift your HBCU.